What's up, Sales Ascenders? Happy Wednesday. Chris Baden here. And this live that we're doing is our first member spotlight series that we've been putting together. We put this group together to create connection. We want to meet other like-minded entrepreneurs, business owners, sales and marketing professionals. We don't solve all problems for all people. I have yet to meet a true entrepreneur, business owner, sales marketing professional that actually wants to solve all the problems. It's way too painful. Therefore, it makes complete sense for all of us to reach out, connect, and figure out how we can work together, how we can serve together. And that is the heart of this group. That is the heart of Membership Spotlight. So today I get to bring on some fellow sales ascenders from our inner circle here that's quickly growing. These members are from Henderson, Nevada, and they solve a massive problem that I'm assuming everyone in this group has struggled with, is struggling with, or will continue to struggle with to some level throughout their career. And that is managing and prioritizing marriage and relationships and business. Both are very demanding on time and on money. And so being able to, keep anyone that's following me on Instagram, you can see like my profile or whatever. I'm focused on three things: building a lifelong marriage, world impacting family, and multi-million-dollar businesses. And it's challenging to keep that prioritized accordingly. Cory and Jojo Rankin are Sales Ascenders members, and they are the member spotlight guests that we have on, and they are pros. In fact, they have a pillar system that they run fellow entrepreneurs through and help strengthen marriages. In fact, they have a great podcast. We're going to get into some fun things in conversation today. If you've ever struggled with this part of life, family, relationships, and business, how to prioritize that, how to keep your home happy, how to keep your business happy, this is going to be a great episode for yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on Cory and Jojo. What's up, Cory and Jojo?
Hello.
Thanks, Chris, for having us today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's awesome because anyone that is following Sean and I, we're actually located in Vegas, and we're reaching out, meeting all of you. And when we started, when we got to do a call with Cory and Jojo, like, what? Not only you guys are in Vegas, like I technically live in Henderson, and so do they in Nevada. We live like 10 minutes away from each other.
Yeah.
So it's a small world, but thank you guys for coming out. I would love everyone, now that everyone knows where we're going, what we're going to be focused on for this episode, man, let's get to know you a little bit. So Cory, why don't you start and share with us kind of, where your vocational journey started and why you decided to focus on balancing marriage and business and your struggle in that.
Okay. Yeah. So Jojo and I, we've been married for 12 years. We are foster parents for the last 8 years. We are entrepreneurs. Jojo's a nurse, and I graduated physical therapy school, and she just started her master's program this week for social work. And so we have been in the world of healthcare and service and families for a long time. And so that is kind of a little bit who we are. But I think Jojo is best equipped for telling us where our story started, as she's the one that had the initial experience that got us to where we are today.
Yeah. So just a tiny bit of the background. So I've always loved marriage and family, except for growing up, I didn't really want to get married because all I saw was like divorce happening. And then, but Cory and I throughout the years had honestly coached. So many couples would come to us and asking us for advice. And so I knew I wanted to be in the marriage and family realm, but I did nursing instead. And then our community, as Chris knows, had a very big tragedy hit a few years ago. And that night I came home from work, and I was working at one of our hospitals, and I came home from work and I just saw so much destruction, and it was so horrible. Yeah.
And I think Jojo, I mean, you are doing such a great job, but we're glazing over a really big thing. The specific tragedy that she's referring to is the shooting in Vegas.
Yeah.
And this affected numerous families, friends, and she was on the front grounds while this is taking place. And so, I mean, what if you could maybe take us back to that night a little bit, what that was like for you?
So it was really hard, honestly. And I specifically worked with the families because they didn't need the extra help on the like in the rooms. I specifically worked with the social workers. And I came home that night. It was just horrible. Like, luckily at the time, one of my classes for undergrad was counseling through trauma, and so my professor worked me through tons and tons of trauma because it happened in October and my semester started in August. So I was halfway through a semester, and so she really helped me like cope. But it was just awful. Like, to say the least, it was a war zone. It was horrible.
Well, and her role that night was to identify the relatives and things like that.
Yeah, it was pretty bad to say the least. But I came home that night and I got a really strong impression as I was talking to Cory, and I'm positive it was from God, that my mission in life was to help families. And I thought, what in the heck? Like, how am I supposed to do that? I'm already on the process to, apply to grad school and finishing up my bachelor's with marriage and family studies. Like, and we were already foster parents. We'd had a ton of kids over the years. And so I thought, how? And then I hope that answered that question. It's kind of hard to go into the in-depth, like it still brings back trauma. But it definitely was the changing point in our lives, because we had never thought about owning a business. I just assumed I would go marriage and family route and, become a licensed clinical social worker. Like, that's what we thought. But yeah.
But with our background in healthcare, and we thought that that's what it would be, and our experiences through the shooting, as tragic as it was, and foster care, and the guidance from God, that's how we kind of got to where we are. And we both have a heart of service, and we just want to serve. And so we do our best to keep families together. And the way that we do that is by helping entrepreneurs who are married strengthen their marriage. And we do that. Chris mentioned a pillar system earlier. And so we help entrepreneurs improve their communication and decrease fights and arguments in the home and find better time balance. And I think that is what Chris wants to focus on today, is that balance. How can you balance as an entrepreneur, as a family man, as a family woman, a spouse, a husband, wife, whatever your role is, whatever hats you wear, plural? That's what Chris wants to focus on today, is that balance.
Yeah, and our conversation, I think would be so valuable as a reminder, and maybe even a new thought for everyone listening. And I'm assuming that there's going to be some members that aren't currently in a relationship, or married, but there's other relationships. I mean, there's always friends and family. And I know speaking of family, my mom just jumped on. What's up, Mom?
Nice.
So, that's right. I'm also going live on my personal profile. I was like, I don't remember. Anyway, sorry. I'm back. So marriage and family and relationships, entrepreneurship, anyone that's done this long enough, it gets crazy lonely.
It does.
And the true friends and family that support you, they're like, I know they love me, even though they like disappeared somewhere and they're like trying to conquer the world. They'll stand by you, but there's still an element where we need to return, not just for the relationships, but also for ourselves, because it does get lonely. I felt through getting to come into your guys' world and talk on the call the other day, I was like, wow, like this is such a really good, powerful reminder for everyone to hear. And you guys have, in this group, in these membership spotlights, like this is literally to be value content. Like this isn't going to lead to some program. It's leading to connection and stories and reminders and things as we're all walking this journey together. And the system that you guys were talking about and that you're bringing people through, I was like, wow, it's getting results. And it started with you guys. And your guys' story is really unique. And I hope that it's encouraging for everyone listening, because most of us have our own struggles, challenges. But your guys' challenge is a little bit unique, because you mentioned that you had 30 different foster kids come through your home. And I'd like you guys to kind of dive into that a little bit.
Okay, so yes, we've been foster parents for 8 years, and we've had 30 kids in and out of our home, and the majority of them have been fairly long-term. And so we currently have 5 kids. 3 of them are adopted, and 2 are still in the foster care system and will likely be adopted later this year. And so life is unpredictable with 5 small kids, because they're 2, 3, 4, 5, and 8. And
It's crazy.
so with the 30 kids that have come into our home, it's been exactly that. Because every time someone enters our home or leaves our home, our whole family is shaken up. And so with that, our small children, they get attached to those things. And it's just an adjustment for everyone. And one thing we have to really manage is the trauma that these children have been through have not been your typical experiences that 2, 3, 5, 8 year olds are experiencing. They're not going to school. They're not coming home to a healthy family. They're not coming home to possibly both parents. And so one thing that really touches my heart significantly is our 8-year-old. He's about to start 3rd grade. Earlier this year, maybe 5 months ago or so, he came to me and he said, "Daddy, are you and mommy going to break up?" And I said, "No, buddy, I love your mom." And as we started that conversation, I was taken back. I didn't know where it came from or why it came from, because we do have good communication. We do have peace in our home. We try our very best to have that balance. But the reason that came from is because a lot of his friends, his best friend is raised by a single mom. A couple of his other friends have a lot of contention, fighting, and argument in their home, and that scared him because of the trauma that he had when he came into foster care. He was abandoned, so he didn't know how to love, how to be safe, and he's safe in our home. He's loved, and he's connected, and so he was so afraid that things would go back to how it used to be if we broke up. And I reassured him that no, we're not going to break up. But that's exactly what is a possibility as an entrepreneur. If we don't focus on our family, if we don't really put a lot of time and attention and be intentional on focusing on the needs of our family, we could potentially have that outcome that he's afraid of, to break up. And one thing that I really find it important for all entrepreneurs to know, that there's a myth that, especially new entrepreneurs, if we just work harder in our business, our family will be blessed. That's not exactly true. Just working harder in the business will not result in your family being blessed unless there's intention outside of the business. If there's intention in the home to focus, to make your family the first priority. For those who are Christian or believe in God or whatever your belief are, my foundation is God, family, and then the business. And that's what I would challenge each of you to do. Whatever your belief system is, put that as a top priority. Put your family as a top priority, and allow the business to be third place. Because usually what we see in entrepreneurs is that the business becomes first place, the family starts to feel second place or neglected, and that's where the wedges start to build. That's where the communication breakdown starts to occur.
And if I could just add to that too, we have so many couples come to us and say, I don't understand. My spouse used to we used to have an amazing relationship, and then I started the business, and now every time that I even mention the business, it's like this huge fight explodes. And if you dial down, it's not usually the business. It's either one, the partner feels left out of something major in your life, or that they don't have you doing the same things anymore. If we think about it, entrepreneurs, we're thinking about business 24 hours a day. We could be with our kids and we're playing with them, but we could still be thinking, yeah, exactly. It's always right here. We have a hard time sleeping, like everything, because we just have this vision. But we forget sometimes that our spouse is now taking on everything that you used to do and isn't able to keep up, and they're feeling left out too. And so usually when we just bridge a little communication gaps or bridge a few, tweak a few things, that marriage can become amazing again. And I just wanted to touch on that real fast, because I think that's one of the biggest myths we think is my spouse hates the business. It's not usually the business. It's not.
They just hate being second place.
Yeah. And you can include your spouse in so many different levels, and even your kids. We include our kids in our business on so many different levels, because it is a family thing. Having a business is a family thing.
Well, and Chris mentioned earlier that an entrepreneur can be lonely. I think the quickest way to avoid that loneliness as an entrepreneur is to get your people in your corner, your family. Because when things are going well at home, you're going to be much better version of yourself to do well in the business. And so the quickest way to avoid that loneliness or feeling like you're on an island by yourself is to get your spouse involved. They don't have to be in the business meeting and making those decisions, but it would be a good idea if they had an idea about your finances, what your schedule looked like, who you were serving, and had you. Most entrepreneurs have a vision for their business, but they don't often have a vision for their family. And I think that's one place that entrepreneurs can avoid that loneliness, have a vision for their family. How is my family involved? Like for us, we work with married entrepreneurs. We want to strengthen families. We tell them who we've helped, why we've helped, and he told us yesterday. He's like, "Did you help that couple on your call?" And it's just so unifying that our family's involved, and the non-entrepreneur can be involved at whatever level are comfortable, even if it is just sitting next to you on the couch while you're responding to emails. That is involvement, because when we look at love languages, people want time. They want quality time. They want uninterrupted time. And as an entrepreneur, sometimes there's things that we have to do, but we can do them with our family, even if our family isn't a part of the business.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I feel like you guys everyone watching this, I'm sure you can already feel and start to sense their passion and focus of prioritizing the marriage and how to do that, even in the midst of still tackling the normal temptations and struggles of also building and running a business. Their particular story stood out to me because I was like, man, they're not just one family, but they have other kids from other families coming in for different periods of time and are still managing the extra dynamics and mental, emotional bandwidth and stress that brings on. I was like, wow, this is really inspiring. This is really encouraging. If they can manage all that, man, I feel like I can at least do a little bit better job at, building and managing the marriage that I feel like I was blessed with, the family that I feel like I was blessed with, and that's still growing. We got a third on the way. October. Oh, here we go.
You can do it.
You're in for a wild ride.
You can do it.
Everyone's like, oh, you're going from man to man to zone defense. I was like, I guess so. We're in the minivan tribe. Let's do this.
Right.
So, there's some great comments. You guys, please share your story. Everyone listening to this, comment on here. Yeah. We'll be getting into some. Cory and Jojo are awesome. They brought some free, stuff that they're going to be giving away. Stay tuned for what that is. But I wanted to pause there just for a second because I wanted everyone to hear that, hey, you're not alone in feeling and struggling with some of these things. It's not like a dirty secret you need to keep off to the side. I think it's something that we can talk about. We can bring to the forefront. We can have more conversations with our spouse, with our friends, with our relationships. And maybe like you guys said, they're not necessarily in the business, but if they're welcomed into it a little bit more, they'll feel more like first place and actually start to be, cheer you on and at least encourage you and know what to even ask you for updates. At times, I don't know if there's any Friends fans out there. I know I'm dating myself a little bit going back. I'm still young, whatever. So, but yeah, with Friends, like Chandler Bing, the joke is always like, what does Chandler Bing do? Like, I'm the Chandler Bing usually of my friend circles. They're like, what does Chris do? Like marketing? I don't, so I'm just kind of off on Entrepreneur Mountain, hiking and climbing to I don't know, build stuff because that's how I'm wired. And everyone listening here probably is wired that way too. Let's continue with your story. There's one part that you mentioned I think is really powerful. Your 8-year-old. And this is really cool because we're talking about marriage. We're talking about families. We're talking about entrepreneurship and working with foster kids like you guys are. There's other mental, emotional, really challenging dynamics. And so rebuilding and pouring into them. Sorry, one quick pause on this. I know I'm all over the place. Welcome to the world, right?
This is our life.
This is important because you guys say, in the beginning, you said, oh, we really want to serve people. I hear that 8 days a week. Like everybody says that. But I feel your story, how you guys live, I'm like, no, but they serve people. Yeah. And so the heart, and I'm sure people are already feeling like your heart of service. I just wanted to point that out of like how my experience of getting to, talk with you guys and meet you guys and that service going into your business and your customers, that service going into the kids that you're welcoming into your home, and not the fruit that's coming from it, which I'd like to highlight. How you guys have pumped out some books, and your 8-year-old it was your 8-year-old that wrote the book, right? Our
8-year-old wrote a book. Yep.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I was like, I want my kid to write a book.
Yeah. Well, it all started because we have a friend who he helps healthcare professionals write books. And so we were like, we'll write a marriage book. Well, our 8-year-old overheard it. He was actually 7 at the time, and he overheard it, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to write a book before you guys do." We're like, "Okay, sure, go for it,
Whatever,
buddy."
dude.
Yeah, and so, but we supported him. We're like, okay, if he really wants to keep this dream alive, like he sits at night and reads forever, like reads everything. He actually read one of our friends' physical therapy books, like just reads it because that's just what he does. His brain is constantly going. He'll probably be an entrepreneur someday. But yeah, so he turned one of our bedtime stories, and he's very much into, like, because we talk about emotions a lot in our family. Like, we have 5 little kids, so emotions are always high with those little kids. They're screaming, there's crying, there's, it's life. That's what it is. But as long as we can teach them how to conquer those emotions, it becomes so much easier for us. And so we're constantly talking about, how can we address our emotions? What are you feeling right now? So he actually wrote a book about feelings. So he turned a bedtime story, which was a football player with all of our kids in the story. He was the football player, and he was at a new school, and how he addressed emotions. Have you ever felt nervous before? Have you ever felt anxious before? Have you ever felt angry before? So he's literally going through these feelings in his book, which I think is really mature for a 7-year-old, like, and so he wrote it, he drew most of the pictures. But yeah, he's like super amazing. Like, just, I don't know much more I can. You're crying. I love it.
It's just, he just means the world to me.
Yeah.
But so it actually started because the story, Jojo, it just developed as a bedtime story, but it started because he was in kindergarten, had a lot of friends, and he was worried about starting at a new school. And so the storyline is exactly what his experience was going to be. And we told him, it's okay, you can make friends. And he was nervous and he was frustrated. So it's a book about feelings. The title is called Will You Be My Friend? And it's a book about feelings, about like just how to express feelings. Because in foster care, that's something that we really have to address, because these children often don't even know what those feelings are. So they don't have the ability to express them because they don't know how to identify them. So that's kind of how the book progressed. And then his class at school, everybody drew a picture, and then the teacher bound it together. And I was like, okay, your class did a book, so let's do a book. And so Jojo and him created the story, and he illustrated about half of the pictures, and I am a terrible artist and drew the other pictures. And so that turned into a book that is published on Amazon. And at 7 years old, he's a published author. And Jojo and I have a heart of service, but his heart is even greater than that. And so Jojo did say I was crying, but I'm not really, but I am. But it's just because he's the one that's had the trauma. He's the one that's had the tough life and been neglected and things like that. But he teaches me every day. And I think when we're open, when we give ourselves permission to learn and include and be intentional in our family, that's where, as an entrepreneur, we really can find success, because our family can give us great ideas. Our family can be the support that we need. And that the last thing that we want is we do not want families to fall apart. And often with divorce rates in the country high, and often in entrepreneurship, they're high as well. So if we can strengthen the family from the top with the parents, that will result in a stronger parent-child bond. It will result in a better sibling-to-sibling bond, and just greater peace in the home. And that is our ultimate goal, is that children can be raised in a 2-parent household, that there's a place of love and peace, and that there's fulfillment for everything. Because we want each individual to be the best version of themselves. We want their family to be the best version. And because all of you who are entrepreneurs, you have a tremendous skill that can change the world. But you can't change the world very good if things aren't well at home.
Yeah, we want you to help create the marriage and the business that can change the world, because together it can change everything.
So much passion. I love it. And I think everyone now more than ever would completely agree that connection is insanely valuable, being that we're so separated and social distancing and all the thing, and this too shall pass. But the value of connection, and I think people wanting to get out. I know for us, it's like, oh, we get to go outside or go. There's just different meaning to being around people today than even 6 months ago, a year ago. So that's great. Let's do this. Let's transition a little bit. Now people got a feel for Cory and Jojo's world. Let's get into a little bit more tactical things, like a couple of how-tos. What are some simple ways? What's one simple way that us entrepreneurs can begin to focus and prioritize. And I'm using the word marriage, but also relationships. So if anyone watching this, if it's friendships, if it's just within your, immediate or extended family, even business partnerships, there's just that whole relational dynamic too. This is, just that disclaimer in there. So what's one simple way to kind of start building and prioritizing relationships?
So I think one of the biggest things that we've seen is keeping accountability of your time. So because we work with individuals as well, but if you were to take an individual that's an entrepreneur and have them calculate their time, what am I going to do in this hour? What am I going to do in this hour? And then that way, if their family, if their parents, whatever situation can fit into that. So if let's say that you are married with 2 kids, right? Or 3. So we'll throw in yours. Does that work? So you have almost 3 kids and you're just grinding. But if you're used to coming home at 5 o'clock or used to ending the business, whatever that means, at 5 o'clock, then that literally needs to stay that way. There's some exceptions, but your spouse and you and your kids need to be on board with, okay, mom is turning off the business right now, or dad, I'm turning off the business right now, and my focus is you. It's not, I'm going to have my computer on the side. I'm not going to be having my phone. It's, okay, I get this time. And one thing that we work a lot with parents is, because kids need lots of time. They really do. They're so, so needy. But we also need time to ourselves. There's so much that we need as well. But if you can even take 5 minutes out of your day in between each task. So let's say you have an hour worth of work. You're doing whatever for an hour. After that hour, turn it off, spend 5 to 10 minutes with those kids. And then just play, just do whatever with them, talk with them. We have what's hard for you conversations all the time in our house where we get to know, like, what are our kids struggling with? Is it that they don't have their friends right now? Is it that school's not going on? What is actually hard for them? And it's amazing what you hear, but then also just having that playtime, that 10 minutes gives you a mental break. It gives them a break knowing that you're engaged. And you can even tell them, you know what, mommy has 10 minutes or daddy has 10 minutes. Let's go do something. Let's go play hockey outside. That's what we do a lot when it's not so hot. Let's go play hockey outside. Let's do whatever, because they're filling up their love bucket. And same with your spouse. Hey, I have 10 minutes. Do you want to sit on the couch and just have a chat? Or do you want to just sit down and be together? I got 10 minutes. Let's do this. And then you can regrind, negotiating how much time frame your family needs. But you can regrind, and it gives you a renewal. It gives them a renewal, and it gives mental clarity, because as an entrepreneur, you are getting nowhere without mental clarity.
And I've never once heard a child of an entrepreneur, especially a teenage child, say, oh, I wish my dad would work more.
Yeah.
They're always like, I wish I had more time with my dad. I wish my dad was present. So that is our biggest tip for everyone, is that find a balance that is putting the family first. When you build out your calendar, put your kids' sporting events, put your wife's doctor's appointments,
date nights.
Date nights. Put those things in first and then stick to it. A lot of times entrepreneurs, they don't date their spouse anymore, whether it's a wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend. They don't even parent-children dates and daddy-daughter dates. Those things don't happen because they're not put in the schedule. So if you put in the things in the schedule first, and then you select a time in the evening where business is done until tomorrow, whether it's 7 o'clock or 5 o'clock, whatever it is, whatever works well for the needs of your family, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, turn it off.
Yeah.
The emails will still be there tomorrow. Hotmail, Gmail, they're not taking your emails away. They will still be there tomorrow. Your Voxer messages, your TikTok, anything will still be there tomorrow. But we don't have more time. We will miss opportunities. And when we focus on our time and we put our family first and we really shut off, okay, this is family time. I'm not taking any calls. I'm not doing, even if it's during the day, even if you have like 2 hours during the day and you work all night, whatever works well for your family.
Just something.
Set that balance that this is family time. Business is not going to interrupt it. And even if I have an emergency, which is probably not the case, it can probably wait. Even emergency, someone can call you 5-10 times. You can set a system up in place with your spouse. Okay, this is going to be 10 minutes to solve this problem. I'm coming right back, and no more calls. Whatever works well for the family.
And communication is huge with that. You know, if you're having that time with your spouse, let them know how much time, what time you're going to shut off, what time you can allot, because we know that you still have to own a business. You still have to run things, but your family is your priority. And I think the number one thing that I learned from the shooting is tomorrow is not promised. It is not. No one is promised tomorrow, you know? And so if we're able to kind of shut off even just a little bit to just refocus, because we all need that mental clarity as well, you know?
100%. Yeah. And as you're saying that, I'm just highlighting Brian here, fellow sales ascender. Remember, he's saying it's really hard when my spouse isn't part of the process. I'm on the couch. I'm not fully focused with the laptop. I knew it. Like, thank you, Brian, for opening up and sharing. Like, I know Brian is not alone. This is a thing. And what I heard you say was time blocking.
Yeah.
It's, you know, we calendar and we schedule, you know, everything else with business on our calendar. Are we time blocking date night? Are we time blocking when we're going to have like one-on-one, you know, interactions, hangout sessions or whatever with our kids, with friends, whatever it is that you guys relationally are prioritizing listening. So I think that's really, really powerful. Let's do this. I'd like to hear, we talked about the pillar system. How many pillars are there? And we don't have to go into too much detail, but just hearing like what the 5 things, like those filters are that you guys kind of ask yourself. And you're like, if we just do these things, usually it works out.
So the first one is a vision. The majority of people have a vision in their business, but they've never considered one for their family. So sit down, include everyone, a family vision. What is the relationship like?
Where do you want your marriage to be?
Where do you want it to go? Where do you want the kids to be? So a family vision, and then an increase of service. As an entrepreneur, we are very good at saying yes and serving anybody that will push our business forward, and even those that may not push our business forward. But we don't serve nearly enough in the home. So service, communication. A lot of times the arguments, the fights, the breakdowns have occurred because poor communication, a lack of understanding, someone not listening, not being clear in the desired outcome that you want. So communication. And then the finding greater joy in your spouse, in your children, just because you have quality time. Time is what people want. Nobody's going to say, I want my dad to work more hours. They say, I want my dad to tuck me in at night. I want my mom to give me that send off to school. Those are the things that people want. When you talk about love languages and things, people want time. They don't want busyness. They don't want distractions. They don't want your half attention. They want your full attention. They want quality time. So that's the 4th one. And the 5th one is just the family business balance. When we have balance, life is so much better. As a child, I loved the playground, but I was bigger than a lot of the other kids, and I'm not going to stay on the teeter-totter if I'm the one that's just on the ground the whole time. I want some balance. I want it to be fun, and that can be exactly what we have in business. When our balance is off, our priorities are out of line, we're going to be on that ground, on that teeter-totter, and we'll get off very quickly, even if our friend, our family, whoever, someone in our corner is floating in the air. If the balance is not there, one or the other is going to jump off that teeter-totter very quickly.
What would be a good balance to aim for as a goal, like percentage-wise of time, or like how do you know that you've achieved good work-home balance?
So I think one of the biggest things is the communication aspect of it. So we recommend like you sit down and you talk to your spouse. I know I've been working on the business, and obviously I want to throw something else in too. Every business, there's hard weeks and there's like softer weeks. So it's important to communicate to your spouse, you know what, this week is going to be a really rough week. So when they know when you're grumpy, what's happening, it's not them, it's the business. And they too know, okay, so your time might be a little bit limited, but you communicate with them, but in a couple weeks, this is what's going to be happening. And this is what my vision. So we recommend that couples try out their boundaries. So if it's important to your spouse that you're home for dinner or you're present during dinner, then that's part of your time frame. Most of it goes back to communicating with your spouse. What do they need? What do they need to see from you? Because we're really good at getting accountability from all those that we work with and like, you know that. but sometimes it's really hard for us to be accountable ourselves. And so if our spouse is able to say to us, you know what, I need you home for dinner, or I need you home to put the kids to bed, like, then we know what time frames we need to allot. And then trying the balance out. So we don't usually say like, here you go, here's your boundaries, and go with it. Like, try it out for a week or two, and then have that conversation again with your spouse. How did I do this week? What areas do I need to improve on? And what areas can we both improve on in this aspect? Because it is hard. It's really hard to have a marriage. And especially when one person's the entrepreneur and the other one's not, the brain's not wired the same way, and they're not consistently thinking the same way. So trying it out and then re-having that conversation.
So we don't have the ability to tell you, 30 minutes, an hour, 4 hours is good, because everybody's business is different. They have different demands that they need to serve. The activities, the hobbies are different for the kids. If one family has no children, then those boundaries are going to be different. If a family has children that are active in sports or plays or whatever, those boundaries are going to be different, so you can be present there. So our biggest thing, gauge to know if your balance is off, are you fulfilled in your relationships at home? Are you being intentional enough that you're fulfilled? It's not just a roommate status. You're not just casually there, but are you fulfilled in your relationship? Does your spouse, does your family feel that their needs are being met? And if not, we can't give all of our time to everyone, but we certainly could pay attention that, okay, are your needs met? Do you need more time from me on Wednesdays than you do on Sundays? Like whatever it is, that's something you have to explore as a family. But if you have the gauge, am I serving at a capacity that I feel good about? Am I enjoying these relationships at home? Are they thriving? Do I feel fulfilled, and does my family feel fulfilled? And then the last thing that you can gauge, at least for me, would my 8-year-old son say that I'm the cool dad, meaning that I'm present, that his needs are being met, even if it's only 5 minutes of my undivided attention? Or would he tell his friends at school that I'm the dad that is not present? And if you could figure out what that looks like for your children, are you just meeting the needs of your family? And that will be the balance. That will be the little sand in the timer that you have to flip to know if you're running out of time, or if you need more time at work, if you need more time at home. So we can't give you a timeline, but we can give you those tips.
As we work individually, we usually go through it with a couple.
Try it out.
I love what you're sharing. And anyone that's living life knows that it's kind of a moving target. And so, hey, here, I feel like you're offering a couple questions that you can ask yourself to reflect. Hey, what is my kid saying about me at school? That's a great, test. Like when my youngest comes in, he's like, Dad, do you have to work? Every time he's like, do you have to work? It's that feel. And so it's just kind of keeping a pulse. And if you're calendar blocking and at least having the time scheduled to like sit down and have the conversation, if it's not already happening naturally, and saying, hey, where are we at? What are the goals? What's the vision? How can we increase service in the home? How can we communicate? When should we communicate? Time that we're spending, where are some trips or maybe even staycations, or just like a half day on the weekends where we can do something fun and just be completely focused and present. And then, these questions of balancing work and home balance. I really like that. Before we get to our last question for today, we have prepped is, where can people find you?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways that they can find us. First of all, we're also in your group, so you can just message us. It's really easy. You can go to ourfamilystrong.best and then go from there. We do like a free call to kind of get to know couples and stuff. And then also we have a Strong Business, Stronger Marriage Facebook as well to kind of give tips.
Yeah, so the best place is just through Facebook, either Cory Rankin on Facebook or Jojo Rankin. I know for sure I'm in the group. I don't know if Jojo, her profile's in the group yet or not.
We gotta get you in there if not.
Yeah. The Our Family Strong.best that she mentioned would be if you wanted to book a call for tips or ideas to align your thing. But the best bet would be just the Facebook Messenger or the Facebook profile. We do have a Facebook group for married entrepreneurs. And if you wanted to be a part of that, you can message us later for that. But we just want to serve, and we want to give you any resources that you feel you need to strengthen your family.
And if you'd like to listen to more of these conversations, I know that you, I don't know if the podcast is out yet, but I know you have like 20 plus interviews already, talking with other entrepreneurs. If you'd like to hear this conversation continue, strong business, stronger families. Is that the name?
Business, Stronger Marriage podcast.
Stronger Marriage podcast. There we go. Yep. So yeah, and I think like we're putting this out there. Like again, we want to connect everyone listening and everyone in this group. Yes. If you have a great story to share, I believe you guys are looking for more interviews. Yeah. So that might be a good connection for everyone in the group, where if you're looking to get on more podcasts, get more exposure. And I know you guys have a good process where you're, sharing links through your podcast as well, so they can get the word out as well.
Yeah. And I want to share, I want to give that invitation to anyone that wants to. So the audience for our population for the podcast is just entrepreneurs who want to strengthen their family. And so our focus or ideal person to interview on that is someone that has had a journey. They have their family.
It can be an individualized journey before family. It can be individualized as an entrepreneur, but
we like to, those we interview, we like them to kind of share their story of what it looked like for them to enter entrepreneur, the highs, the lows, and then what they've done to come out of those struggles. Because we just want to give people hope that they can have both a strong family and a strong business. Because what is the purpose of having a strong business if you do it at the expense of your family? Or if you're not meeting the needs of your family through your business, that doesn't work too well either for an entrepreneur. So we want you to have both a strong business and a strong family. And so anybody that wants to be interviewed, we certainly could have a conversation. And at the end of every interview, we're just about service. So we give you the opportunity to tell who you are, what you do, and how people can work with you. And we put that in the show notes, and we put that at the end of the podcast interview. So anybody that wants that opportunity, it is small, it is brand new, but we can work together because you have a mission that is strong too. And we just want to serve. And I feel that if we work together, we can serve more people, because I can only serve a limited amount of people. You can only serve a limited amount of people. And Chris has that vision that together we can serve a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, the last question was supposed to be, what's the mark that you really want to, leave on the world? And I feel like you just answered it perfectly right there. You guys clearly have a huge passion for each other, for your marriage, and getting that message out, conveying that priority with other people, because it leads to a strong and happy life, having strong relationships. So yeah, Cory and Jojo, thank you for coming out and letting people step into your world for a little bit, taking time amongst the juggling that we referenced with family and business and all the things. Anyone, you guys feel free to reach out to Cory and Jojo if you heard what they said, just connected with you want the podcast interview. And please, all sales ascenders listening to this, reach out to Sean, reach out to myself. If you'd like to be spotlighted, we want to highlight more members. There's a tremendous amount of talent and skill and ability in this group, and it's literally growing hourly. And our systems are only getting tighter, stronger, bigger, and faster. So we want to make more and more connections. It's just going to keep growing. If that's you, reach out to us. We have a qualification process to make sure that the story is going to be of service and worth everyone listening to. But if that's you, please reach out to us. Cory, go ahead. Yeah, jump.
I have one more offer I want to share with the group.
Do it.
The pillars that we talked about, we have in a book, an ebook and a book on Amazon. So if anybody wants a free copy of that book, it's just 4 quick principles, tips that you can implement very quickly. And it's that exact framework that we talked about. And it gives you some questions to ponder and things like that. It's kind of a little workbook that you can do with your family, just as kind of a personal check. But if anybody wants that, we'd be happy to give it to you for free as an ebook. And so if that is something you're interested in, put book or ebook or whatever you want, something to indicate that we can send that.
Just comment book on this post. If you're listening to this and hearing, just say book. And then Cory, if you want to jump back in and see everyone that said book, you can he can send them that free copy. Thank you for offering to just send that to everyone. So you guys rock. Cory and Jojo, thank you so much for joining us. And Sales Ascenders, happy Wednesday. We're going to be doing this once a week, every Wednesday. Jump back in with us next week and the week after and the week after, because we have more awesome, talented members that are going to be spotlighted.